So that's problem number two. Problem number three is that most of you are unfortunately learning overdoing. What do I mean by this? I mean, and this is unfortunate because you're watching a YouTube video, which by nature is learning. It's a slideshow, and then I'm like drawing on a page, like, school style professor stuff. But the reality is, more knowledge will not help you. I've consulted with over 1,400 AI automation businesses now. These are businesses, these are companies, agencies, freelancers, coaches, consultants, whatever. The vast majority of these businesses, the vast majority of them, already knew enough to succeed. When I jumped on a call with them, or when I answered their question or did some Q&A or whatever, it wasn't the information that they needed to succeed, okay? It was applying that information to their daily life. So there's a difference between knowing something and then applying that thing. For instance, right now, you know all of that stuff that I told you about outreach. 10 cold DMs a day with a customized video, 10 Upwork apps a day, an hour every day, looking over your cold emails and crafting new campaigns. But that is very different from actually doing it, right? To know something involves you scrolling through a YouTube feed with thousands of people constantly begging for your attention, myself included, to try and give you some value, to have you hopefully exchange that into some monetary thing on our end. That is a very different set of skills than actually going and doing the thing, right? The set of skills required to know is basically a passive consumption set of skills where you just need to be able to lay back and then kind of identify the right material and then click a button and then focus on something for half an hour. And while that's still like a pretty good set of skills, it's very different from the ability to apply stuff. It's very different from the ability to write applications or to be, somewhat charming or well put together or presentable on some sort of video that you're sending out to people, or to know the right copy to write, or to build the skills needed to be able to do some really cool automations. Applying is ultimately the name of the game. The vast majority of us know everything we need to know. It's just a matter of converting that into some sort of action. Now, how do you convert stuff into action? Well, that is a very, very different set of skills, which I'm going to cover in a second. So, I'm just going to sort of talk about the elephant in the room, which is YouTube. This is a YouTube video. The reality is you don't actually need to watch more YouTube videos about this. And while I think my channel has great information, it's certainly a lot higher quality and higher brow than most other people's, you don't actually need to watch this. Everybody loves to learn, okay? Learning is safe because there's no risk of failure, no chance of rejection. You could watch 1 million of my videos until you realize that you're now 90 days in, you've made $0. So, the danger is that you are tricking yourself into believing you're preparing, but you can't really just prepare for life. You have to go out and live life. Like at some point you have to jump out of the plane and then build your parachute on the way down. And I know that's a really kind of crappy expression. And it's like, well, I would never actually do that in real life. But that's sort of how business works, to be honest, at least in my experience. You could spend all day building out these big projections or being skeptical about something. Before you actually try it for yourself, there's no objective way for you to know whether or not you would have succeeded. And then consider this, the time is going to pass anyway. In the next 30 days or something, by the end of the month, 30 days is going to pass. Well, I guess it's February, so 28 days. 28 days are going to pass whether or not you do the thing, okay? Wouldn't it be better for you to have spent 28 days applying the knowledge that you are currently learning as opposed to just letting it fester in your head? So, if you learn something new, my recommendation is apply it the same day. If you're watching my videos and, I want you to, just do the thing that I'm doing alongside me. Like, how I was just telling you a moment ago about setting aside 2 hours of your calendar. Well, don't just listen to that passively. Like, actually go into your calendar, block it out so that tomorrow when you wake up, when you have that period, you can actually start getting to work. Same thing if I do a live build or something. Anyway, just don't let knowledge fester in your head. The real learning is always going to happen with some sort of doing. So here's a step-by-step program, essentially, that I have used on myself, and I give to a bunch of people, over 1,000 people in my communities. And I find that this works extraordinarily well in practice. So if you just follow this, you should be able to make some meaningful headway against the learning versus doing problem. But in order for you to do this, you're actually going to have to take the steps that I'm applying right now. You can even pause the video, right, after I mention a thing that resonates with you. Go out and do the thing, and then just come back and watch the next bit. So the very first thing is block consumption in media. So my recommendation to you is, yes, block YouTube, block Instagram, block Facebook, block TikTok. If you have a problem, and most people know that they have a problem, right? Most people, we're not unaware of the fact that we have a problem with some sort of content consumption or whatever. If you know that you have a problem with one of these platforms, just block them. Now, if you do this, it doesn't mean that you're a content addict. It's just a tool at the end of the day. And it's a tool that adds a bit of friction the next time you're going to try and mindlessly access a resource. That's all we're doing. We're just adding a little bit of friction, 5% here, 10% there. It's a blocker for your phone where in order for you to I don't know, you type in Instagram and then you try and click the thing, it'll just say, hey, this is blocked for now. Do you want to unblock it? You click a button. Usually you have to do some friction thing. You have to send yourself an email, or you have to undo some little cool pattern code, or you have to solve a quick little equation. This tiny bit of friction helps you jump out of the passive habit of consumption. Sorry about that. The passive habit of consumption rather than active intent. Because typically the way that things work is, you will sign on to and watch an Instagram reel simply because, I don't know, maybe you get a notification on your phone. You click the notification, you look at your friend's text, and then when you go back, you just see Instagram, and all of a sudden that first reel grabs you, and then you scroll down the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. Before you know it, you've wasted 45 minutes of your time. Same thing with a lot of platforms that we're watching today, like YouTube and other stuff. The algorithms will suck you into an additional hour of video. The reality is algorithms like this are now getting better than our abilities to stop them. So, a light bit of friction, like that screen that says, hey, you shouldn't be doing this right now. Do you want to do a friction code or something? This will sufficiently eliminate 90% of those passive habits. Are you still going to do it? Yeah, probably. I still do social media from time to time. That's fine. But I do it because I'm intentional about it. If I have a creator that I really like, I will intentionally sign on and I will say, I'm curious. Do they have a new video? If so, I watch said video. And then when I'm done, I shut it off. That little bit of intentionality basically turns you into an active producer of your life, not necessarily just a passive consumer of it. Okay, the next thing is for just to be clear, for us to distinguish between real progress. Real progress is sending outbound messages for fulfilling client work versus fake progress, which is usually watching videos or reading books. So my recommendation for you, and what I've implemented and employed in my own life, is I only give myself permission to learn something after I've already done something for the day. So a good example of this is I will only read tutorials and watch YouTube videos about automation if I've completed my revenue generating activities for the day, aka if I've already done my 2 hours from 6 to 8 a.m. I want you to think about this right now and consider what your revenue generating activities are going to look like. Are you going to be producing some sort of content? Are you going to be doing outbound, right? Do you have the credentials to produce content and make that interesting or worthwhile? Or do you have the credentials or the skills to sell stuff over video or sell stuff over cold email? Once you've sorted that out, schedule it and then build that self-imposed rule where you're only going to be reading and watching, videos or tutorials on a guide or a new piece of technology if you've already done the thing that makes you the money. And then my goal is to inspire everybody here to adopt a learn and implement immediately mindset. So don't just watch 3 hours of training. Okay, watch 5 minutes, learn a thing, pause, then do the thing, and then come back and proceed. This changes things from this sort of passive edutainment style media where you watch stuff and you think you get the positive dopamine of being like, oh yeah, I've actually done that thing, right? Oh yeah, Nick made a lot of sense when he talked about the system. We're like, wow, the way he built that was really, really cool. This changes your content consumption habits from this passive one into an active one. You're now actively engaging. You're not just passively consuming edutainment, you're actually immediately applying it. So my rule is if you don't see a way to immediately apply what it is that you're consuming, it's probably not a good piece of content to be watching in the first place, okay? Whether that applies to my content or other people's that you're watching or something like that, I'm going to leave that determination up to you. But that is my recommendation to solve learning overdoing.